Welcome to Creative Brews. I'm Kristen, and this is your weekly dose of creativity, where photography, design, and life come together. So, grab your favorite drink, and let's talk about what's brewing. Good morning, and welcome back to another episode. In today's episode, I want to dive deep into a topic that goes deeper than just what font am I going to use, the color palette, and aesthetics. It's about something that should be at the very core of design and every designer, and something you should think about while designing. And that is accessibility and inclusivity. Because design isn't just about what looks good, it's about what works for everyone. And if you are trying to design for everyone, then everyone should be able to use it or quote unquote see it and all of that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and apologize. I'm not really feeling too great. I think I may have gotten some kind of food poisoning, maybe. And now, since it's early in the morning, my voice is all like crackly and whatnot. So, yeah, I do have coffee, but I also have water. So, I apologize in advance for all the that might happen. But, anyways, I'm gonna get back to it so that way we can get the show on the road and all of that. So, yeah, what sparked today's topic, and I am going to maybe post this in between one of the Mindset Myths mini-series episodes. So yeah, what sparked today's topic is basically everybody knows the word is out, the cat's out of the bag. But I designed a book, okay? And so while designing this book, I really wanted this book to be for everyone. So, of course, it's very personable and you get to learn a little bit more about me just because of the quotes and, the introduction and all of that. So, yeah, I really wanted to share the personable side because it is my book, but I wanted everyone to be able to experience this book because the book that I'm talking about is The Daily Divine. By the time I post this, I'm not sure if I'll have shared the publication date yet. Probably not, but I'm not going to say it now, of course. But, excuse me. I might have to go through this and edit out some of this. Some of the the voice or the clearing of my voice. But that's what sparked today's topic is me designing the Daily Divine. So, of course, when I set out to design it, I knew from the get-go I wanted this book to truly be for any and everyone, which I know, I think in my sort of announcement that I did, I think I said something like, this book isn't for everyone, but it is for everyone, which is kind of conflicting. I guess what I meant to say is basically everything I'm about to say, which is this book is for literally anyone and everyone. It doesn't matter if you're on a spiritual journey. It doesn't matter if, you know, if you're doing a great job or having a great job, for lack of better words. But I meant to say if you're having a great day or a bad day, this book is literally for anyone. You know, you don't have to be successful. You don't have to be a business owner. You don't have to be anything, you know. So this book is basically just, I'm hoping will, you know, help people out if you're in a terrible spot in your life, or, you know, maybe remind you of who you are, and offer that clarity and everything. So, yeah, it literally doesn't matter if you're on a spiritual journey, curious about mindfulness, or just looking for something grounding in your daily life. And that's how I wanted to design it. I wanted it to be approachable, relatable, of course, and most of all, accessible. So while designing the book, with everything that I just said, with that being in mind, I did make some intentional design choices. Examples being, I used a clear, easy to read font. You will notice that the font size is a little bigger than your normal 12 point. I think some books, a lot of books are 12 point font. I know magazines tend to be like 10 points, something like that. So yes, I did bump up the font size to make it a little bigger than your average book, so that way it would be easier on the eyes. That is definitely one thing once this book is published. That is one thing that you will be, or that you'll notice and that you'll be reminded of, is that I really, really, really just wanted this book to be very easy on the eyes, very easy to digest. This book is mainly to get you thinking about things, not so much, I mean, yeah, I guess pay attention to the words, but that's basically what you'll notice, because on the inside of this book, there's not that many visual aids or anything like that. I kept it very simple, black and white for clean contrast, and as well as no distractions, no color confusion, no legibility, readability issues. The only color that, I about said cover, the only color that is in the book is on the cover, as you'll notice. Which, of course, I wanted to feel personal and inviting, but still clear and balanced, as you'll notice. So the book very much is going for a very clean, airy, you know, easy on the eyes, and all of that. But I didn't want to. So here's the biggest thing of all. So while designing, I really took into account, you know, basically the accessibility and inclusivity proportion of this. So I didn't just want to design this for people without disabilities. So for sighted people, that the list goes on. I'm just going to say disabilities so that way it encases all of the variability and all of that, because it is pretty broad. So I designed it with the thought that everyone should be able to enjoy it, whether they have visual impairments, learning differences, or just prefer something straightforward and easy to digest. So that brings me to the last thing that I'll say about my story and what really brought this topic on, and the reason why I really wanted to talk about it. So I really have been thinking about doing a Braille version of the physical copy, so a physical Braille version of the book. Because inclusivity isn't just about a design choice, it's a statement. And it says, you belong here, this is for you too. So when I personally think that as creative designers, and as, if you're a part of the creative world in any way, shape, or form, if you're a designer in any way, shape, or form, I really think you need to take a step back, or while you're designing, keep in mind not the universe, I was about to say the universe, but keep in mind universal design. And I'm talking about true universal design. Ask yourself, can everyone use or see, or, the list goes on, what I'm designing? Can everyone enjoy it? Or is it, just for a certain group of people, because it's easy to, especially if, you're working in a creative studio and you're kind of working for someone else, it's going to be a little harder and stuff like that. But even and I'll share this with you all. So where I used to work, I did some business cards once. And I was like, you know what? It'd be great to have an electronic version, because this is while COVID was going on. So they wanted me to create physical business cards, like your normal everyday business card. But I was thinking, since COVID is a thing and everybody's, worried about germs and all this other stuff, as well as one of the people that I was making a business card for was the salesperson. And so I was like, as a salesperson who is traveling a lot, why not do an electronic version of her business card at least? Because I think she would probably use it the most. So I did, and what I was able to do is basically not only make it like, oh yeah, look at this business card that I have, it's electronic, but I was also able to put alt text on there. And so that really even bridges the gap to, even if that's all you do is you put alt text or you use alt text in whatever you're designing, especially if it is electronic, you can really already open the door to a whole group of people that you're leaving out. Because, and that's the reason why I wanted to talk about this, is because I don't know, I think we should be talking about these things as, it's just humanitarian, so it's all about humanity, right? So, and being universal and being inclusive and not exclusive and being accessible and able to use for everyone to use, I think is a very important aspect to keep in mind while you're designing. So I did that just in case she came across someone who, maybe had visual impairments or, whatever the case may be, whatever the disability may be. So, anyways, yes, that's how I was able to, while I was working for someone else, I was able as a designer to get them to even think about something that they probably have never really thought about, so a lot of times it only takes one person to think differently, and especially if you're able to kind of help everyone apply it as well. So not just talk about it, but ways to apply it. I mean, and I'm not saying that, you have to go through everything and redesign it and oh well, I got to go and make, drive yourself crazy doing these things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying this is something to think about because in the whole grand scheme of things, if you are running a business, you are leaving out a whole vast group of people, and you're kind of basically slapping them in the face and saying, oh, well, you don't matter, basically. But it's not just about that. It's also that they are your clientele as well. So when you think about it from a business standpoint, you should think about accessibility and inclusivity because you are leaving out a whole side of your clientele that you probably didn't sit down long enough to think about, so anyways, let's go to why accessibility matters in design. So, yeah, that's all of that is what got me to this topic. And this topic is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, but just never got around to. Yeah, anyways, while I was designing the book, The Daily Divine, it really just got me thinking. And so that's the reason why I was like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and talk about it. It's, a great topic to talk about anyways. So, yeah, I'm glad I didn't talk about it already because it's very fitting, I guess is what I'm saying. It's very in alignment to what I'm doing, what I've been doing, and what I will be doing. So, yes, that's what you'll notice about the physical copy. So if you open it up and you're like, man, this font is kind of big. It's, of course it's not obnoxiously big because it's not a joke, right? So it's still tastefully done. It looks nice and great and airy, and that's, the whole point. So, as creative designers, we often focus on the aesthetics and that only, whether that be color balance, typography, layouts that look polished. And yeah, I mean, all of that is important too, but design isn't only about what's looking good, what looks balanced, and stuff like that. It's about working for everyone, as we have basically discussed. So, accessibility in design means thinking about, and I'll go ahead and list what I have written down because I did write down quite a few things. So, designing with accessibility in mind really means thinking about people with visual impairments, whether that be color blindness, low vision, or total blindness, people with hearing impairments, making sure content has captions or transcripts, people with mobility limitations who may need voice controls or screen readers, people with cognitive differences who need clarity, simplicity, and layouts that don't overwhelm them. So, I just touched on a few bullet points here just to kind of give you some examples instead of just keep saying disability. Okay, because disability can look like literally anything. You might pass someone whenever you're going to go pick up your coffee or your groceries or whatever you're doing, and you might see someone, but you might not notice because, you're not either looking long enough or maybe they just look normal, quote unquote normal. But you can't just look at someone and tell that they have a disability. Sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. So you might look at someone and think, wow, that person's just a normal person. Or why are they doing that weird? Or whatever the case is. When really, that person has a disability. So they have to do it a certain way because it works for them. So I'm just kind of trying to give bits to think about, especially if you're a designer listening or tuning in, period. Listening, watching, whatever, tuning in. Here are some everyday applications. So let's go ahead and go to social media. So whether you are posting a video, a photo, or whatever the case may be, make sure to have captions on the video. Large, readable text in the graphics if you're using graphics. Usually with the transcripts, like I personally lately have been using, because I kind of forgot about it. I'm going to be honest. I kind of forgot about the closed captionings on YouTube. But I do try to have and try my best to fill that out. So that way, maybe you're not someone with a disability, but maybe you're in a quiet area and you can't listen to my podcast. So, I don't know. I'm just giving some things to think about here, because if you don't do that and if you just design for just people who don't have disabilities, you are leaving out a big group of people that might be following you. Maybe they really like what you're doing, but they can't really get the whole picture per se because you don't have closed captionings on, or transcripts on, or maybe you're using graphics that are muddled, or text that's small, are conflicting, contrasting with the text. You kind of see where I'm going here. Okay, next thing, for websites. So while designing my website, and yes, I designed my own website, I used alt text, and I definitely, especially as I add to my website, I keep these things in mind. So, the blog posts and stuff like that, I try to use easy to read font. Try not to make it too busy or too wordy, but that way you can clearly read and see it. Or if you're using a screen reader, the screen reader can clearly read it to you and it's not too busy. I do put alt text on some of my photos at least. So that way, again, if you're using a screen reader or something like that, it can read it to you and describe what the photo is. You should only do that to photos that make sense to do it to. So I'm not saying I'll go through your whole website and make sure you have alt text on everything. No. Because if it doesn't matter, then don't point it out. Does that make sense? So like if you're selling something online, let's say you're selling photography, maybe some photos and stuff like that you took, you should make sure to have alt text on there, because if someone with a disability is on your website and, going through your website, they might be kind of wondering, okay, well, they're selling this moon photo, but what does the photo look like? So you have to really sit down and break that down and describe, that through your alt text. So yeah, alt text, color contrast, keyboard navigation. Of course, this list can go on, but these are just a few things that I picked out for each subtopic, I guess you could say. Websites, social media, printed material, and stuff like that. So printed material, make sure to have legible fonts, high contrast, of course, avoiding over design, as well as a lot of overlapping design, a lot of busyness going on. Books, guides, and even branding. So basically just making sure the core message is clear and digestible to anyone. That way, someone doesn't get caught up about the busyness of your design. So, I decided to basically sort of end this in a way like this is kind of before the ending. The ending thought. It's not the total ending thought, but just some things to think about again. The designer mindset shift. So this kind of goes into the mindset mini-series in some way, shape, or form. But accessibility doesn't take away from creativity. So I just want you to kind of sit with that a minute. Just think about it. You shouldn't think of accessibility and inclusivity as, well, this is going to take away from my design. What do you mean I have to think differently? Because I do know in the design world, we do tend to get caught up in, well, I've been designing like this for 10 years, 20 years, so on. And, why do I need to change now? Why do I need to do this? Why do I need to do that? Some designers do get caught in that. I always say if you're in the design world in any way, shape, or form and you aren't continuously growing or kind of asking yourself, okay, how can I be better? How can I do better? How can I design better? Then you are probably in the wrong, I wouldn't say you're in the wrong job, but you're in the wrong mindset. So you need to shift that thinking. So, yes, accessibility doesn't take away from creativity. It simply expands it. And it does challenge you to think deeper. Not just what looks good, but what works for everyone. True universal design is what I'm trying to bring across here. Great design is both beautiful and usable. So, think of it like this. Think of it like a cup of coffee. Aesthetics are the latte art, but accessibility is the actual coffee. You need both for the full experience to matter. So I'll read that again so that way you can think about it. But think of it like a cup of coffee. Aesthetics are the latte art, but accessibility is the actual coffee. You need both for the full experience to matter. You could also think of it like a sundae. So, you have the ice cream and you have the chocolate or the toppings and stuff like that. So, again, like the coffee, you need both for the full experience to matter. You can't just leave out the ice cream and just have a bowl full of toppings and whipped cream and stuff like that. Okay, so here's the closing thought. Design that truly matters is design that includes and is inclusive, if I could speak, and is accessible as well as usable. So whether you're designing a flyer, a website, a business card, or a book like The Daily Divine, if it's not designed for everyone, then it's not fully complete. As creatives, we have the privilege of shaping how people experience the world. Let's use that gift responsibly. Let's design work that not only looks good, but also welcomes everyone to the table and not shuts the door in their face. So, I believe that is everything I wanted to talk about. I hope this kind of gets you thinking differently. That's the whole point of this topic. It's not to be a shameful, like, how dare you not think like this. Please don't take it like that. It's simply to open the door to, hey, let's think about what we normally do every day and stuff like that to bridge the gap and to include everyone. So open the door to everyone and have true 100% universal design that's not only for everyone, but where everyone can use it. Hopefully that all makes sense. So yes, again, if this inspired you, I want you to please share it with a fellow creative in the design world who could use this as a reminder. Because when we design with accessibility in mind, again, we're not just making things more usable, we're making the world more inclusive. All right, well, I hope everyone has a great week, and please share this. It really does help. And please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so that way you don't miss future episodes. And I will see you all in the next episode. Bye!